Welcome to Wrasslin Raw!
All right, you're listening to Wrasslin Raw, the podcast that takes you back to when Raw became war and attitude ruled. You are here with Ryan Arico.
I may never again play in a polo match.
Jeez, because you were violated.
Violated.
Well, as you can hear, everyone, I am your host today, so I know there's a lot of disappointment out there, but our third man is not here.
Disappointed.
And that's disappointing because there's a bracket tonight, and we know how much he loves a good bracket.
Yeah,
so
he'd be creaming all over that bracket.
Yes. We're going to get through this with a two-man booth tonight. And before we get started, Ryan, we have a mail call.
You've got mail.
That's right. Last week, we asked a question across the pond to Lord Thomas, the Viscount of Grimsby, and he answered. He wrote us back this week, and this is what he wrote. He said, "What do I think about D'Lo's tenure as European champion? The man visited my little insignificant hometown of Grimsby to eat fish and chips on a barge-cum restaurant? All one word?
I don't know.
Then showed up at a local wrestling school called EVO to offer advice and support. That, guys, not only makes him the greatest European champion of all time, but he might be the greatest ambassador US has ever sent us. Yes, D'Lo, I do in fact recognize. Cheers, lads. Glad the pod is back to its normal service. Signed, Lord Thomas, Viscount of Grimsby." He then backed it up with a PS giving us evidence with a link to the story of D'Lo Brown. I can't remember the news outlet, so I'm just going to call it the Grimsby Inquirer. But thank you, Your Excellency, for gracing our mailbox with your correspondence. That's great to hear.
Yeah, it sounds like D'Lo was probably kissing some babies and shaking quite a few hands over there.
He's representing
Grimsby.
Over there.
Yeah, he represents all of Europe.
That's why he's the European champ and deserves to fucking hold that title.
Hell yeah. Yeah, that is nice. Thank you, UK Tommy, for that email.
Yeah, that is beautiful.
Keep us in the loop if anything else is going on there. Any more sightings of D'Lo Brown?
Or any other European champions.
In a few months, you're probably going to need your taxes to be taken care of. I don't know how they do it over there, but I would be hiring D'Lo Brown,
D'Lo
the
could
CPA.
figure it out, especially if he represents Europe. He knows their tax laws.
Yep. Well, without further ado, let's get into it tonight here. We are going to be discussing the Raw that aired on October 12th, 1998. This took place at the Nassau Coliseum on Long Island, and this show features Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler on commentary. Now, I would like to lay things out here because this episode was a little bit different than the past several episodes that we have recapped because they made the decision that they were going to have a tournament for the Intercontinental Championship tonight because, as you may have heard if you are a regular listener, I've been reporting through the Wrestling Observer News that Triple H has been injured. He had surgery, so they decided to strip the belt from him and have a tournament tonight. So tonight's show is a little bit different. There's a lot of wrestling matches.
So you hated it, to say the least.
They were only like 3 to 4 minutes long. 2 to 4 minutes long. So that's what's going on tonight. It's a lot different. There's a lot of wrestling matches. I wouldn't say any of them were really that great because they were only 2 to 4 minutes.
Some of them were solid, but nothing to write home about.
Yeah, definitely a little different from our traditional episodes of Raw that we've seen lately, but in between some of those matches, we still got some really good segments of storytelling. So
yeah, we still got some gold nuggets there.
Yeah, just wanted to kind of lay it out there so that our regular listeners know what to expect here. But we're going to start the show off with a movie-style intro featuring a recap of the feud between Stone Cold Steve Austin and Mr. McMahon for about the past month or so. But Ryan, why don't you give us a little bit of a glimpse of what happened last week between these two? There it is, the clang of the bedpan.
The best part of last week.
Yeah,
Highlight
for those of
right
you
there.
who didn't listen last week was the famous bedpan episode, Mr. McMahon taking it to the dome. We've seen these movie-style intros before with pay-per-view events. Pretty much every pay-per-view has this type of intro with the movie voice guy, but lately, it seems like they've been having these movie-style intros on episodes of Raw, which is cool to see.
Well, it's cool to see, and I do wonder if it's because, if we remember back to this time, their audience was exploding at this point. So you think maybe they're doing this to give anyone a quick recap that maybe this is their first or last week was their first week watching, gives them a little bit of a quick synopsis, gets them on board.
Well, yeah, and not only that, but there have been some incredible things happening, memorable moments that they want people to relive every week.
We're going to have another one tonight.
That's right. And to start that off, we get a shot of Vince McMahon driving a white Corvette convertible through the garage in the back of the arena. And I already have a feeling I know what's going to happen tonight. And
the moment I saw that white Corvette.
Yes. And the three Stooges, Pat Patterson, Jerry Briscoe, and Sergeant Slaughter, are there to welcome Vince. They're the welcoming party there, and they're helping him into a wheelchair. It's an electric wheelchair. Jim Ross tells us that Mr. McMahon has personally invited Stone Cold Steve Austin here tonight.
Oh.
So that should be pretty exciting. Ryan, what'd you think of this? I know that you know what's happening here just from your memory, but what did you think of this segment here?
Well, first, we hear McMahon just honking and bitching out in front of the door, which was great. And I didn't know where we were at quite yet, but soon as that door came up, exposed that white Corvette, I'm happy knowing what I'm waiting for. But the little things that you don't remember thinking back is how great it was to see McMahon struggling to get into that wheelchair and then seeing him speed off with that fucking placard across the back, Mr. McMahon.
Yeah.
Still bitching about the fucking door guy not getting it up quick enough. It was a great scene.
It's all the little things right now that they're doing. We talked about last week how the little things in the segment at the hospital, and there's little things here too. Like you said, that placard on the back of the wheelchair, the just screaming about this doorman at the arena, which is also going to play a part in this. So these things are really fun to see. They are just, the WWF creative is just on fire right now with Vince McMahon.
These little segments, they are like fully written sitcom scenes at this point.
Yeah, and I have a lot more to add about that later on, but let's not waste any time. Let's get to our first match of the evening. The New Age Outlaws versus LOD 2000 ends in a no contest in 2 minutes. Well, the New Age Outlaws are apparently back together. There's no explanation why, but Billy Gunn confirms it on the microphone that they are back together. So that was just a little taint tickler, I guess.
Thought about it for 2 weeks and it's done.
2 weeks. It's over. Pretend it never happened. Hawk joins commentary and he says that he is sober now, which is good. Billy Gunn and Animal start things off. Billy Gunn eventually tags Road Dogg. And then all of a sudden, here comes DOA. And then the Headbangers. The Headbangers come out.
That's going to make it better.
Yeah, they smash a boombox over the Road Dogg's head. Jim Ross tells us that is no JVC kaboom box because they don't break. And Jim Ross also tells us that the Headbangers are going to face the New Age Outlaws at Judgment Day for the titles. Wow. How did they earn that?
Where the fuck did that come from?
Yeah, so no contest. Just too much shenanigans here with DOA and the Headbangers. Ryan, what are your thoughts?
This, I'm not going to spoil the end of the episode for my thoughts, but I felt like we started off on the weakest link right here. The New Age Outlaws, of course, they're loved and everyone's happy to see that they're not breaking up, but we didn't expect that anyway. Draws being in LOD freshened up a little bit, but the moment fucking DOA came out, followed by the Headbangers, they lost me. Two teams that I just don't give two shits about, let alone LOD, who I'm pretty on the fence of giving any shit about. They were packing a lot of garbage in this match, and I don't care that the Headbangers are taking on the Outlaws at Judgment Day, because we all know how that's going to end, and it's not going to be with the Saturday Night Special fucking Headbangers winning the titles. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, that's not going to make me want to buy the pay-per-view, that's for sure.
No.
After the match, Jim Ross informs us that Mr. McMahon has stripped Triple H of the Intercontinental title, and that we are going to have a tournament tonight to determine the next Intercontinental champion.
Which I was happy to hear. I thought that was cool, finally. We're finally going to do something about Try's injury. With Owen, what was it, like 2 nights after an injury that we stripped him of the belt, where we let Hunter hold on to it for like 2 months before they did anything with it.
Yeah, so I guess the bad news there is it seems like his injury and his recovery is going a little slower than they would have thought. But yeah, that's what's going to happen tonight. A full tournament tonight, which to me was a little bit surprising. I didn't know that they would have the full tournament. I figured with a pay-per-view coming up, they would maybe have that final, but we'll talk about that later when we get there. The next segment shows Vince McMahon with Pat Patterson and Jerry Briscoe in the back. They're watching a monitor. Vince has his leg propped up, and they're watching a monitor because they're waiting for Stone Cold Steve Austin to enter the arena. But on this monitor, we see Mr. Tracksuit again.
Beautiful tracksuit.
Kane in a tracksuit with a gym bag is entering the arena. So, yeah, Ryan, we're getting this tournament. We have our start of McMahon and his stooges waiting for Stone Cold Steve Austin's arrival. What are your thoughts on these two things here?
Well, as I said, I'm pumped about a IC tournament. That's pretty cool to have all on a Raw here, as long as the matches are living up to it. And then seeing Kane, Mr. Tracksuit come in, I loved it. Good things are happening there.
Yeah, and speaking of the tournament, let's go ahead and get into our next match. Ken Shamrock defeats Steve Blackman in an Intercontinental Championship tournament match in 2 minutes and 30 seconds. So not a lot happening here in 2 minutes and 30 seconds, but to me, Ken Shamrock is definitely working heel in this match. He eventually beats Steve Blackman with an ankle lock to get Steve Blackman to tap out and gets the victory. After the match, the Blue Blazer attacks Ken Shamrock and Steve Blackman and then runs away. Jim Ross says, "Wait a minute, is that the Blue Blazer? That can't be the Blue Blazer." And Ken Shamrock then snaps and puts the ankle lock back on Steve Blackman, which the referees eventually break up. Ryan, your thoughts on this first tournament match and the return of the Blue Blazer?
Very short, but the beginning of it was very intense, I thought. One of my favorite parts, though, was Shamrock. When he was making his way down to the ring, there was someone in the crowd right off the ramp holding a sign saying, "Vinny's Sweet Tooth."
Yeah. Yeah,
which
Vinny has a sweet tooth.
Vinny has a sweet tooth. That was fucking beautiful, and just shows you where mankind's going now. He's really starting to connect with the fans. But in 2 minutes, we weren't going to get much, which I guess is probably for the best for Blackman. He's still babying this knee injury. But for the very first tournament match, I was hoping for it to last a little longer than 2 minutes. But whatever, Shamrock's a heel now. The Blue Blazer, wow, I was not expecting that so quick.
Yeah.
Just last week, Owen's gone, and boom, we're at the Blue Blazer the very next week. I thought they were going to let that burn for a few weeks before the Blue Blazer came, but no. After that, Shamrock just continues to flip out because I guess that's really his only gimmick. He can't talk on the mic, so he flips out, and he's just a big ball of steroid, folks.
I gotta say, I don't really remember Ken Shamrock's heel run at all.
No, I don't think anyone does.
I think for good reason, yeah. And we'll maybe find out about that here in the next coming months. But after that match ended, we get another look at Vince McMahon and the Stooges backstage. Again, looking at that monitor, obviously looking for Stone Cold Steve Austin, but instead it's Mr. Sweatpants, The Undertaker. entering the arena.
Beautiful.
And then we get a look backstage at Terry Runnels and Val Venus basically having a foreplay session. They look like they're about to get it on.
Having sex on the stairs back there.
Yeah, and we get a little Shattered Dreams Productions video of Goldust highlights from 1996, which was voiced by Jerry Lawler and Jim Ross. They tell us that Goldust has been gone for 5 months and he is back. So, Ryan, what did you think of Vince McMahon looking at the monitor to see just Mr. Sweatpants, not Stone Cold Steve Austin, Terry Runnels and Val Venus foreplay session, and the teaser video for Goldust?
I was glad to see Mr. Sweatpants, as I'm sure Vinny and the Stooges were, even though they were expecting Stone Cold. Terry and Venus, it definitely looked like they either just got done or were about to have sex on the stairs back there, like some high schoolers in school or something. And then we get the video of Goldust. The thing that really stuck out to me is that it has been almost a half of a year he's been gone, 5 months. It's felt longer, if I'm being honest, with the characters we were getting out of him, but glad to have him back.
I agree. And Val and Terry will have to put a hold on their hanky-panky session because we are on our way to our next match. Val Venus with Terry Runnels defeats Mark Marrow with Jacqueline in an Intercontinental Championship tournament match in 2 minutes and 15 seconds. So the first thing I notice here is Jacqueline is sporting a nice-looking Peg Bundy-style leopard bodysuit. But the big surprise here is that she's also wearing a women's championship belt.
Finally.
So we now have a belt for the women's championship. And Jacqueline also has a little blonde weave in her ponytail this week, which is obviously the hair extensions that she cut from Sable's hair. Yeah. Terry distracts Mark Marrow, which allows Val Venus to get a fisherman suplex on Mark Marrow for the win. 2 minutes and 15 seconds. Again, not much going on here. After the match, Jacqueline starts beating the shit out of Terry, but the officials and the guys break it up. And the bracket shows us that Val Venus will now take on Ken Shamrock next in the tournament. I noticed this match and the rest of the show, there were a lot of photographers around ringside. I don't know if you noticed that. It was
I didn't notice that.
It was like some of those pay-per-views that we've seen where there's just an obnoxious amount of photographers all over the outside of the ring. So I noticed it for this match, and I feel like it continued.
I was waiting
for
one of the
show.
cameras to blow up then and maybe go in someone's face.
Right. I was expecting something to happen, but spoiler alert, nothing happens with these photographers. But Ryan, what did you think of this Intercontinental Championship tournament match?
There wasn't much to the match like the last one. The action we did get was serviceable. Both Val Venus and Mark Marrow, they're good, fast-paced mid-carders, and the little action we got was solid enough. Just, again, wish there was a little bit more of it. We start off, though, as we do since Val has started in the WWF, giving his little monologue, but his sexual innuendo intro this week was a bit of a stretch. He was like something about being like a clock, 2 hands and a face, and like, I don't know. It was not one of his best. I'll put it that way. Of course, the main thing about this was just to get Val to move on in the tournament. And I think we all know the story between Jacqueline and Sable at this point. We don't want any more of that, but I think we're probably going to, since Jacqueline is now wearing Sable's hair as almost a trophy.
Yeah, a trophy to go along with that belt. So
yeah.
Once that match is over, we get a glimpse of the most beautiful man in wrestling. Ooh. He is back. Paul Bearer.
Yeah, he's been gone too long.
Paul Bearer is walking into the arena with a briefcase in hand. Vince is seen asking, why the hell is Paul Bearer here? Which was pretty funny. We then cut to Michael Cole in the back. He's interviewing Sable, but Sable storms away and goes after Jacqueline, grabs her by the hair, drags her through the ring entrance area. We get a weak-ass fight and a pull-apart that happens here between those two. With the amount of silicone going on with all these women, I'm surprised that more boobs did not pop out during a lot of these little fights and pull-aparts that they had back in the day. But yeah, Brian, your thoughts. I got to hear your thoughts on Paul Bearer. It's been too long.
I don't ever want them to deprive me that long of that beautiful fucking face ever again.
That mush.
Yeah. Until the man dies, I want to see him on my fucking screen every week.
Yeah.
So very excited to see Paul Bearer back. I don't know if you remember, but I certainly remember what that's going to lead to at Judgment Day. But Michael Cole back there with Sable, as I just fretted about 2 minutes ago, here it is. Sable attacks Jacqueline, ignoring Michael Cole like everyone else, and just going right for Jacqueline as they slap each other. And Joe, you're right about the tits flying. The last segment where Jacqueline attacked Terry Reynolds looked like she might have popped out there, Jacqueline, but where the camera was at, we didn't see it. But I feel like we might have got a Janet Jackson moment there again.
Yeah, there's just stuff popping everywhere.
And those tops are just too little to contain.
Yeah. Yeah, this was just another, again, we're supposed to believe that Sable can beat up Jackie. It's just not, it's not believable. I'm sorry.
Well, she's been training for a month now.
Yeah. And that takes us to our next match of the night. Mankind defeats Mark Henry in an Intercontinental Championship tournament match in 3 minutes and 18 seconds. And before this match starts, we get an interview backstage from earlier with Michael Cole interviewing Mankind. Mankind tells us that he's not afraid of Ken Shamrock, and if Ken Shamrock has a problem with it, Mankind has one word for him: Socko. So Socko was introduced last week.
We're there.
And he's back. Socko is back already. Jim Ross informs us that Mark Henry is going to be taking on The Rock at Judgment Day. So that's news.
Yeah.
These guys are in the same faction together, and they're going to have a match against each other. We also get a glimpse of Mark Henry backstage earlier, or maybe on Superstars. I'm not sure where this was from or when it was from, but I can't remember what Jim Ross said. But it's a video of Mark Henry in the back reciting a love poem to China. So that was creepy, to be honest. It was pretty weird. But the business picks up early because we get a shot of China walking down the ramp, and this crowd loves it. Mark Henry throws Mankind around like he weighs 50 pounds, and Mankind is a big man. He is not
300-pound pluser. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's no road dog from last week.
Yeah, that is impressive to see. I really enjoyed this match. It was only 3 minutes, but it's really hard to find a good opponent for someone like Mark Henry, but I can't think of anyone better than Mankind. So this match really worked well, I thought. And of course, Mankind gets the victory by using Mr. Socko for the mandible claw, which gets a huge crowd pop. And Mankind leaves the ring after getting the win, which then results in China entering the ring to confront Mark Henry. But Mark Henry just leaves the ring in frustration. So, Ryan, your thoughts on this match and the debut of the enhanced mandible claw with Socko?
Yeah, I thought it was all pretty good, starting with Mankind's promo with Michael Cole back in the boiler room. You mentioned that he said Ken Shamrock doesn't scare him, but I loved his reason why, and it's because Ken Shamrock can't swing a chair hard enough to hurt me. Just a great fucking line by Mick, and then gives the Socko pop at the end, and the crowd cheers for it. And out of the Intercontinental Tournament matches that we've gotten so far, at 3 minutes and some change, I guess it's the longest we've gotten so far, but I felt also the best. As you stated, Mick Foley's a over 300-pounder, and he's getting tossed around like he weighs 50 pounds in there, like a featherweight. Mark Henry's able to toss him around. But I feel it works even better than it did last week with a Road Dogg because, one, he is a 300-pounder, so he's no lightweight. But two, the mythos that they've already built up around Mankind and his threshold for pain and how crazy he is, it makes it believable that he is a worthy adversary against someone so huge like Mark Henry. So I thought this match maybe is the best we've seen Mark Henry in, even though it was short. And then we end up getting Sacco again. He takes off his shoes. I can't remember how long he actually does that before he just starts stuffing him in his pants.
Yeah.
But that was a great little touch. And then the little puppet show that he did on Mark Henry's chest after the win, that was hilarious.
Yeah.
And we got to hear JR say the word gullet.
Yeah. That nasty sock.
So all of that was good. And yeah, best match of the night so far.
Yeah, I agree. And after that match, we then get a beautiful scene. We see Stone Cold Steve Austin driving into the backstage area, the same area that Vince McMahon entered earlier in his convertible. But Stone Cold Steve Austin is in a cement truck, and the doorman clearly does not give a shit, which I thought was great. And we go to commercial, we come back. Michael Cole is interviewing Stone Cold Steve Austin while Austin is sitting in the cement truck. And he asks him, what the hell are you thinking, a cement truck? And Steve Austin says he has an open invitation from Mr. McMahon, and he tells Michael Cole to get the hell out of here because he's got some equipment to test out. We then see Vince in the back with the Stooges yelling and just freaking out. What the hell is this? He's driving a cement truck? Sergeant Slaughter.
I can just see his face.
Sergeant Slaughter, the stooge that he is, gets up to go check out the scene and trips and falls and lands on Vince's injured foot. Which was just a stooge move if I've ever seen one. And so, yeah, Ryan, what did you think of this? This is setting the scene here for what we're going to see later.
Yeah, anyone that did watch this live back in the day, if the white Corvette didn't jog your memory, the cement truck certainly did, I would hope. Because if it hasn't, maybe you need to go see a doctor because your mind isn't working so well anymore.
What the hell is this?
A cement truck!
It's that idiot doorman.
Someone fire him.
That's going to take us to our next match. X-Pac defeats Jeff Jarrett in an Intercontinental Championship tournament match in 3 minutes and 9 seconds. Again, 3 minutes, championship tournament match here. Jeff Jarrett did have a nice counter on the Bronco Buster. I did like that. He put his feet up.
I think the first time we saw a counter.
Yeah.
And what better way to just hit someone in the balls?
Yes. Yeah, really nice move there from Jeff Jarrett. We then see Jeff Jarrett reach for a guitar case, which you would think would have a guitar in it. But instead, it has Al Snow's mannequin head, and Jeff Jarrett is so shocked that it allows X-Pac to sneak up and get the win. Al Snow then runs in and grabs his head and runs through the crowd, taunting Jeff Jarrett with the crowd chanting head. Ryan, what did you think of this match?
Very quick again. Like I think that's the word of the night. Quick for these IC title tournament matches, but not terrible action. Again, X-Pac came in and he took a beautiful Irish whip to the corner. It was almost Bret Hart level the way he slammed into that. So that was cool, and it was very fast paced until we got to the spot with the guitar missing out of the guitar case and head. And then from there, we wrap things up pretty quickly, which looks like is Jeff Jarrett is going to be in some type of story with Al Snow. So I guess that's better than Al Snow being in a storyline with Sergeant Slaughter. So that's a progression. But probably the highlight of this match was Jarrett not coming to the ring with Southern Justice. That was a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, good call. Because nobody wants to see that ever again.
No.
What we do want to see, though... That's right. What we do want to see is Stone Cold Steve Austin in that cement truck. And that's exactly what we get here. Stone Cold Steve Austin is driving the cement truck up to Vince's Corvette convertible, lowers that cement truck chute, which then just dumps cement into Vince's car to where the windows explode.
That's the best part. Those fucking windows.
The windows, I'll tell you, the best part for me was we just get that classic look of Vince McMahon just seething, pissed off in the back. That facial expression is just so hilarious. And all I could think of is the amount of cleaning up they had to do in that arena around that area. What a fucking mess that would be.
Not to mention ruining a beautiful Corvette.
Yes. Yeah.
Because there's no amount of cleaning that's going to bring that thing back into service.
Yeah, this is, again, just fantastic creative from WWF, just really, and building up to these moments too. They're just doing such a good job of that. Ryan, what did you think of this?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. 3 weeks in a row now with absolute iconic, memorable scenes. The Corvette being filled with the cement and the windows popping. Like all 3 weeks of this, if you ever see an Attitude Era mashup video, they're going to show all 3 of those scenes. And they happened in a row. That is something I did not remember, that they were just back to back to back.
Yeah.
And really, Vince and the WWF, they are unstoppable right now. Joe, I hope you have some numbers comparing WCW over the last few weeks, because I feel like they really are just towering over them now.
Yeah.
As word goes about these episodes, the fans got to be pouring in at this point.
Yeah, Meltzer didn't have any numbers this week, but I really hope that he does next week to really get a good feel for, after these past few weeks, how much are they pulling away now? Like I said last week that they were already pulling ratings away from Monday Night Football. Mm-hmm. So it's got to be just climbing.
Can you think, including the biggest show of the year, WrestleMania, up to this point, do you remember a build-up where we had this many good Raw episodes in a row?
Oh, no.
Leading into a pay-per-view?
Not even close.
Maybe one or two, but 3?
Yeah.
Just out of your mind episodes leading in to the pay-per-view? No. We've never gotten that.
3 in a row that still are being replayed on Monday Night Wars documentaries.
Mandatory viewing.
Yeah.
You're into wrestling.
Yeah. Well, and we're not really done yet with this because Stone Cold Steve Austin, we come back from commercial break and we hear the glass break. Stone Cold Steve Austin enters the ring to a huge crowd pop from this Long Island crowd. Austin thanks McMahon for the open invitation tonight. He tells Mr. McMahon as long as they are both here in the WWF, Austin will make his life a living hell. And this is where I have pointed out that I saw the Vinny has a sweet tooth sign in the crowd. Vince McMahon then wheels out in his electric scooter wheelchair to the top of the ramp. But as Stone Cold Steve Austin starts to approach Mr. McMahon, a bodyguard figure appears behind Mr. McMahon in a mask. We're not sure who that is, but
a big guy, if you will.
Pretty big guy, if you will, along with 2 canine cops with 2 German Shepherd dogs. And Austin starts to approach McMahon, and I just love Vince. Vince just starts screaming, sick him, get him. The dogs. Oh, man. Vince informs Austin that he's going to be wrestling tonight and that Vince has a partner picked out for him, the so-called People's Champion, The Rock, and that gets a real reaction from the crowd, and that those two will be facing The Undertaker and Kane tonight. Vince then starts bitching and complaining about the last couple of weeks, which prompts a loud asshole chant from this New York crowd.
Speaking of assholes,
Steve Austin says, this is easily my favorite Steve Austinism, which is just one of my favorite things that he does. And I don't know how good your hearing is, but you've got about 15,000 people calling you an asshole. And that just makes the crowd explode even louder. So I just love when he does that. Perfect setup for that. Vince just starts a huge bitch fest again, complaining about the
rectal area.
The Undertaker and Kane destroying his ankle, and that his head is still ringing from last week when he got struck in the cranium with a bedpan. And my rectal area. Which, that's all he had to say to get this crowd to pop.
You violated me.
You violated me. And that damn open hospital gown. The writing, I don't know if this was written for him or if he just came up with this, but this was so good. This whole entire
beautiful
monologue from Vince McMahon was just amazing. And Vince tells Austin that if you don't raise the hand of a winner this Sunday in Chicago, I will fire your ass. So we get the first threatening of a firing, I think, of at least using that Vince McMahon voice anyway. Austin tells Vince that he doesn't have the balls to fire him, to which Mr. McMahon then replies, I don't have the balls? I've got balls the size of grapefruits.
Another first.
Another first.
Calling them grapefruits.
Which actually got a huge crowd pop, by the way. The heel here.
Well, because it was a great delivery.
Yes. That's pretty much the end of this segment. But Vince, to me, he really came off like a great villain in this segment. Just setting the scene, like he's ridiculous because he's Vince McMahon, first off. He's in a wheelchair, an electric wheelchair. But to me, they made him look like he was like a Bond villain or a villain in like these 80s cheesy action movies where they have the cops and the dogs around him, surrounding him. And because usually he just has the stooges around him and he looks like a jackass. But in this scene, he looked like a true like movie villain from some cheesy movie. Everything that he was saying here was just gold, classic stuff that people still quote to this day when they talk about Mr. McMahon or Vince McMahon. So, Ryan, what did you think of this girthy segment between Austin and McMahon?
It was girthy, and I completely agree that this was Vince McMahon in his prime. You talked about the little things earlier that they do, like the placard across the back or the heart monitor last week. Another just a small added thing, that just the way that he words the loss of his Corvette. No, he's not angry that he lost a Corvette. It's that it finished a collection of Corvettes. And now that collection isn't full. That's what he was angry about. That among the other 100 Corvettes that I have, just really playing up. I'm a douchebag that you want to see get dumped out of a wheelchair. Like, not many people do you say, dump him the fuck out of a wheelchair, but Vinnie Mac.
Yeah, beat up the cripple.
Yeah, beat up the cripple and dump him the fuck out. Iconic. We keep on using that word, but it's so fitting, especially out of Vince the last few weeks. You violated me, Austin.
Yeah.
You don't get any better than that. His rectal area, again, like you said, that's all he had to say. He just stopped. My rectal area.
Yeah, and he's like nearly in tears too as he's delivering it. Yeah.
Yes. And then we learn the first firing might be coming as he threatens to fire Stone Cold if he doesn't humble himself. So everything here was working. No wrestling. This was about 5 times the length of your typical IC title tournament match. But this is what we're here for at this point, is the interaction between McMahon and Stone Cold, because it's stealing the show.
Yeah, and I think when Vince went back to the gorilla position, I think that he was screaming into the headsets to make sure you talk about the firing for the rest of the night, because that's pretty much all commentary talked about the rest of the night. So we are officially in the you're fired era of Mr. McMahon.
Quickly, though, JR did apologize to his mama for the language that was being used in that segment.
Yeah, we came back from the break, and Jerry Lawler and Jim Ross are basically recapping that segment, and they apologized for the language, especially to my mama back in Oklahoma.
Booner sooner.
So that was nice of JR to do that. And that takes us into our next match. Ken Shamrock defeats Val Venus in an Intercontinental title tournament match in 4 minutes and 36 seconds.
Hey, that's longer.
Yeah, it is. Still just 4 minutes, though, 4.5 minutes. Ken Shamrock attacks Val Venus during Val Venus's entrance, so there's really no formal entrance for Ken Shamrock here. And Ken Shamrock basically dominates most of this match. He gets a win with an ankle lock, and Val Venus just has no more energy left tonight because he's been plowing through Terry all night in between matches, and he already had a match tonight. We then hear Goldust's music, which we knew was going to happen based on the information we got last week. Goldust comes out and beats on Val a little bit and then kicks him in the nuts as hard as he possibly can. I have to say, it seems like the crowd was dead for this. I don't know if it was because of just the great segment that they just saw with Austin and McMahon, or maybe that they already knew Goldust was going to be here, maybe a combination of both. I'm not real sure, but it was not a surprise entrance. We were teased of this, but it just didn't quite get the reaction I thought it would. Ryan, what'd you think of this match and the return of Goldust?
I agree with you. It didn't seem like the crowd really cared all that much, but I do think it probably had to do with they just got done standing on their feet for, 15 minutes during that last segment, screaming left and right. It's hard to live up to that. The return of Goldust isn't Austin versus McMahon, but I was pumped for the Goldust return, and that's pretty much what this match was about, because as you stated, Shamrock was in firm control of this match through most of it, which isn't a huge surprise. The big Valboski's more of a mid-carder right now, where Shamrock is a former top carder who's maybe fallen a little bit down the card, but he's not quite at the level of Val Venus right now, and by level, I mean down to Val Venus's level. So he did take the match fairly easily, but this was more of a setup for Goldust to return. I thought the return was perfectly fine, though. He came in, he crawled towards Val Venus, and that kind of gave Venus the heebie-jeebies, and he tried to get away, but no. Goldust smashed, I guess, the paymaker there for old Val Venus. He's going to have to lay off the films for a couple weeks to let things heal up. So I'm pumped to see Goldust back, but I heard what you did. The crowd didn't really seem to care.
Yeah, I think it was a combination of a couple of those things that I mentioned, but still excited to see Goldust back for sure moving forward.
Yep.
We then get a look at Vince McMahon in the back. He's taking a look at the damage to his car with the Stooges, and for some reason, Mankind is there. And Mankind takes Socko and tries to clean things up a little bit, and he's looking for something. I'm not sure if he's looking for the keys or what the hell he's looking for, but Vince, of course, is disgusted by the fact that Mankind is just helping a little bit too much. We then get Michael Cole in the back interviewing The Rock. The Rock does my favorite thing, which is shoving Michael Cole out of the way and telling him to shut up.
It's been too long since he ended up on his ass, though.
Yeah. The Rock talks about being Stone Cold's partner tonight, which was set up by Mr. McMahon. But D'Lo and Mark Henry show up during The Rock's promo, and they're not too thrilled with The Rock talking about Stone Cold Steve Austin. And The Rock just storms off, and we are off to our next match. But before we get to that, Ryan, anything you want to add with Vince McMahon scoping out the damage and The Rock's promo here with Michael Cole?
The best thing about the Corvette scene was Mankind trying to clean up with a sock the entire Corvette filled with cement. That was a nice touch, bless his heart. And then Michael Cole interviewing The Rock, just like you. I was just waiting for The Rock to shove him, because he starts it like, oh no, you could stay. And then says a couple lines like, you know what? No, Michael Cole, get the fuck out of here. And then he shoves him. Great. Just leading him on. Slow burn there for us. So then after that, we do get Mark Henry and D'Lo Brown, who seem to be pissed off that The Rock is out here talking about his team up with Stone Cold. So it looks like the nation's problems are coming to a head here, maybe.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there. As we know, Mark Henry and The Rock have that match at Judgment Day. And like I said, that takes us to our next match. X-Pac defeats Mankind in an Intercontinental title tournament match in 3 minutes and 16 seconds. I love that Mankind has wet cement all over his sweatpants.
Yes.
That was beautiful.
It was a beautiful touch.
Yeah, not much of a match here. Ken Shamrock walks down the ramp and Mankind just waves at him, which I thought was hilarious too. Ken Shamrock picks up a chair, hits Mankind in the ankle, which then allows X-Pac to get the win. So nothing real exciting here. Obviously, Ken Shamrock is in his heel era, so he is being a heel all night. He then proceeds to assault X-Pac and Mankind after the match. So Ken Shamrock is just a true heel here, and this wasn't much of a match, which is a shame because X-Pac and Mankind could probably have a pretty solid match and is definitely a pay-per-view level type match. But Ryan, what did you think of this match?
I couldn't agree more with your last point there. I was disappointed that I didn't get to see a longer, better match between these two because I really think Mankind's unorthodox wrestling up against X-Pac's fast pace. I think they really could have pulled off something beautiful. Instead, we got a throwaway match here that was more of a setup for Mick and Shamrock's upcoming Judgment Day match, which, okay, you're building up to that, but I just feel like we really missed out on a great opportunity here. The only thing I will say, since there really wasn't much of a match, is you got a laugh out of the wave from Mankind to Shamrock, which shows us the mindset of Mankind right now. Do you remember the outcome of this Judgment Day match between the two?
Between Shamrock and Mankind?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay. I didn't remember that Shamrock went into this as a heel, but I remember how it ends, and I don't know if you'll like it as much as I did, but I think it's hilarious and very, very fitting for Mankind.
Okay.
That's where I'm going to leave it.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, well, that's going to be our next show. So
yeah,
this so far has been a fairly good go-home show, considering not as far as wrestling matches go, but as far as storytelling and everything. I think that it's been a pretty good show so far.
And the matches aren't like terrible. They're just not quite as good as I was hoping.
Yeah. But we're going to come back from break, and Ken Shamrock is still in the ring trying to attack X-Pac. That's his next opponent for the finals of this tournament. Triple H is there. He shows up on crutches outside the ring. He's talking to X-Pac, making sure that he's okay to go in this next match. X-Pac, being the competitor that he is, he replies by saying, yeah, ring the goddamn bell. Ring the fucking bell. All caught
ding,
on TV.
Ding.
So we are off to our next match of the night. Ken Shamrock defeats X-Pac to win the Intercontinental Championship in 3 minutes and 56 seconds. So as I said, Triple H came out to talk to X-Pac here, and now he's on commentary for this match, which I'm not a big fan of Triple H on commentary, but he is there for this match. X-Pac, to me, always plays a really good underdog role. He always has. That's basically what he was doing during this entire thing. He ends up, because he was attacked before this match started.
And just had a match.
Yeah. Was attacked. Taps out to an ankle lock here. And Ken Shamrock wins the Intercontinental Championship. I have to say, this wasn't really that exciting to me. It was less than 4 minutes, so just nothing real exciting here. X-Pac was just beat up and at a huge disadvantage here. I do think one good thing about this, though, is that it will eventually build a nice feud between Triple H and Ken Shamrock. Whenever Triple H is healthy and ready to go again, this sort of builds that story like, hey, you fucked over my buddy here, so I'm coming after you when I get back. And obviously he's going to want to get his title back. So I thought it did do a pretty good job of that, but I just wasn't real thrilled with this match. And to be honest, I wasn't real thrilled with this tournament in general, but I understand why they went that route. Ryan, what did you think of this finals of this Intercontinental Championship tournament?
Yeah, sadly, I do agree that I felt this final match kind of the tournament hasn't been great, but I thought this really let it down because X-Pac and Shamrock could have been something great or at least damn entertaining, but instead X-Pac has to wrestle right after wrestling Mankind. Like, I was a little confused when this match started. I was like, wait, why is there a ref in the ring now? Like, it just, out of nowhere, it became a match. And how is that fair at all to X-Pac? Shamrock was able to rest back there, and X-Pac has to do this right after having a physical match with Mankind. Like, I don't know. I didn't like the setup for it. I don't like how they finished this. I guess one good thing is the turn for Shamrock is working. We're getting Shamrock sucks chants out of the crowd. So I guess we have that, but the only other part of this is them trying to build up the X-Pac resiliency, almost like a Shawn Michaels. JR was really leaning into just what a great competitor, and there's just no one tougher, and he's never seen someone with this amount of courage. So they're trying to build up X-Pac, but I felt like this match did not especially deliver for the end of the Intercontinental title championship. Like, Shamrock has the belt now after this. That was a bit disappointing.
Yeah, I fully agree. And that was not our main event. So we are now off to our last match of the night. Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock defeat The Undertaker and Kane by DQ in 11 minutes and 14 seconds. To me, The Rock and Austin here, early on, they were showing some pretty good teamwork in this match.
They even looked at each other like, yeah, I guess we could work together.
Yeah, which, again, is setting things up for later, which is good to see. Paul Bearer, the most beautiful man in wrestling. Let's just get to him real quick. He waddles his way down the ramp, and that is just a beautiful sight to see.
Waddle is the correct term to describe how he walks.
Yeah. There was a pretty nice spot in the middle of this match with the people's elbow on The Undertaker, but The Undertaker sits up when The Rock is about to hit it, which I thought was pretty cool to see. The Rock kind of knocks him down and hits it anyway, which of course gets the crowd pop. D'Lo Brown and Mark Henry make their way down to the ramp, and the plot is thickening, as JR would say. We were reminded about 1,000 times during this match that if Austin does not declare a winner, he will be fired. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The word fired
I forgot all about that.
Was said at least 1,000 times during this match. We also got a pretty nice little Hulk up moment here about 3/4 of the way in from The Rock. He was in the ring with Kane, really got the crowd fired up again. Another thing that fired up the crowd was Austin getting a hot tag from The Rock while Kane tagged in The Undertaker. But after that happens, Mark Henry and D'Lo put a number on The Rock outside the ring and just beat the shit out of him. Mark Henry gives him a big splash. And here comes that security guy for that bodyguard figure, as he's known by Jim Ross, who comes in and hits Steve Austin with a nightstick and pulls the mask off and reveals himself as the Big Boss Man.
Beautiful.
Beautiful is right. And Big Boss Man, give him a lot of credit. He dropped a lot of weight and looks really good in this role, like a SWAT cop type role instead of that cartoony Halloween costume cop that he always was in the 80s and early 90s. So that's nice to see. This is a good look for him. Austin then takes a really good beating from Kane and The Undertaker while Vince McMahon sits at the top of the ramp in his wheelchair like the villain that he is and just enjoys the scene, and we fade to black. So we got another extra attitude segment here, and it was probably the best extra attitude segment that we've seen so far.
Yes, it actually had content.
So we're going to talk about that after, but Ryan, I want to hear your thoughts on this match and the reveal of the Big Boss Man.
I thought everything about this match was pretty good. We fill the ring with some of the biggest stars. We got The Undertaker, Kane, Stone Cold, The Rock, and then the most beautiful face in wrestling waddles his way down to the ring. This is another, at least internet iconic scene, the one where The Undertaker sits up on the people's elbow and The Rock kicks him back down before dropping it. That's a shot that I've seen many, many times, and it's like a slapstick comedy act, but it works here, and it got a pop out of the crowd and out of me. And The Rock looked really good in the ring because a good chunk of this was just The Rock getting manhandled by the two monsters, Undertaker and Kane, tagging each other in and out. And I thought The Rock did a very good job selling their power moves. It all looked really good. And then Stone Cold does get tagged in and he starts taking it to both guys. And JR goes crazy putting over Stone Cold. What a hard-working blue-collar man's man. He would rather drive a cement truck than humble himself to McMahon. He was just jizzing all over himself. Yeah. This was like McMahon about Shawn Michaels, the way he was talking about Stone Cold.
Maybe worse, yeah.
Yeah, maybe worse. Then we get, maybe it's not completely official, but I would say this is the official end of the nation, right? D'Lo Brown and Mark Henry, they attack The Rock. The nation has to be done after this. So that's something we've been calling for, and we're going to get it. And then the big boss man, the big reveal. If I didn't know what was coming and remember what the new version of Big Boss Man looked like, I probably would have been fooled. Yeah. Like if I was watching this live, I wouldn't have known who the masked baton-wielding cop was behind him until he took this mask off. So damn good reveal. And McMahon, like a Bond villain at the top, smiling from ear to ear as everyone just beats the shit out of Stone Cold, is a great way to end this episode. Even if we don't get the extra attitude stuff, this is a good way to end this go-home show.
Yeah, this is how the show ended.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this was a great go-home finish for Judgment Day, and you definitely want to buy the pay-per-view to see how everything, unfolds here now that the tables have turned on Austin so quickly. But yeah, we get an extra attitude segment, which I'm assuming these are part of some sort of home video thing that you had to buy back in the day.
Right, Coliseum.
The boss man chokes out Steve Austin with his nightstick, basically, and then walks up the ramp. Mr. McMahon and the Stooges make their way down the ramp, and Vince McMahon tells Pat Patterson and Jerry Briscoe to put the boots to him.
I love that line.
Yes. And predictable fashion, Pat Patterson and Jerry Briscoe start slapping Austin around, and they both get themselves a Stone Cold Stunner to the crowd's delight. And The Rock caps things off with a double people's elbow, just giving this crowd a nice show to finish off the night.
The crowd went crazy after that.
Yes. But wait, just when we thought it was over, Stone Cold Steve Austin goes outside the ring. Vince tries to get his scooter wheelchair to go up the ramp, and it just won't go. So Austin flips the wheelchair and just starts stomping a mud hole in Vince McMahon. This was by far the best extra attitude segment that we've seen so far. This really had a lot of entertainment to it for several reasons. So, Ryan, what did you think of this?
By far, most of the time, or all of the time up until now, these extra attitude has just been a minute or two extended scenes of whatever was happening currently. Like if it was someone got beat down in the ring, it was like them rolling around and getting out of the ring, like very useless. But this one, no, this was just 100% crowd service.
Yeah.
This was, okay, we ended on a shitty note. Stone Cold's getting the shit kicked out of him. Now you're going to see the Stooges get the boots to them, a stunner, a double fucking people's elbow, McMahon getting thrown out of his wheelchair and overacting, screaming on the ground. Like this was actual content. And I guess if you're leading into a pay-per-view, the way they actually ended it is probably better for television.
Yeah.
But for a live crowd, you gotta end it on a high note. And they did for them. And this was a pretty cool extra attitude episode to see, finally.
Yes, totally agree. This went beyond the Hulk must pose, Shawn must pose. This was Austin must stun, but a lot more.
Right.
So as I said, we faded to black. So let's move it on over to highlights and lowlights. Ryan, there's a lot to select from. Why don't you give us your highlights and your lowlight?
Highlight is going to be a little bit of a combo, I think, here. It's going to be the Stone Cold and McMahon segments, the fucking Corvette, but also this final match and how it all played out and how it ended, I thought really built up for the pay-per-view. So I guess maybe it could be summed up in sounding like a broken record, but all of the McMahon Austin segments are the highlight here.
Yeah.
And for the low light, I am going to go with, as much as I actually liked the tournament idea, my low light is going to be how they ended the tournament. This half-assed, tired X-Pac versus Shamrock 4-minute match for a belt, that left a bad taste in my mouth.
Yeah. They violated you with
Yes.
that. My low light is very similar, but I didn't like the tournament at all, really. I didn't like the fact that it just felt so rushed and that there were just 3 minutes, 2-minute matches. I feel like they could have just said, we're stripping the title from Triple H and Ken Shamrock and Mankind are going to battle for the Intercontinental title at Judgment Day. I think they could have said that and everybody would have been fine with that, because those two were in that number one contender match a couple of times, so nobody could argue that they don't deserve that shot.
Or at the very least, over the last 2 weeks, have the tournament.
Yeah.
That, like you said, led to Mankind versus Shamrock at the pay-per-view at the end of the tournament. Like, build it up a little bit. Too quick.
I think it just makes some of the guys look weak, because you have Mankind and X-Pac in a match together and it's 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Those guys could have a 10 to 15 minute match on a pay-per-view. And I could say the same about some of these other matches that happened
Mankind
tonight.
and X-Pac, or even Vel Venus and Shamrock.
Right.
Both of those guys are good ring workers. They could have put on a decent match.
Yeah, I agree. For my highlight, it's going to be the same as you. Every single segment with Mr. McMahon and Steve Austin, I just thought that the lead story for tonight was just perfectly laid out. And 3 weeks in a row now, we're getting these memorable moments. And this is the first time where I can actually, I can see that image of me being 16 years old in my parents' basement watching Raw every week. I'm remembering all of this shit now, week by week. It's not just, oh, I remember this. It's like, all right, now I'm back into my 16-year-old self and remembering a lot of this stuff.
These episodes, I can remember watching live.
Yes.
It's just seared into my memory.
Definitely. So that'll do it for highlights and lowlights. We do have some news from the Observer this week. I don't have ratings reports from Dave Meltzer, but he is reporting that house show business is through the roof, which is not surprising.
Yeah, that's got to be a pretty good indication for ratings.
Yeah. Dave Meltzer noted this past week the WWF sold out 4 of its 5 house show dates. Wow. So that's pretty impressive. Dave Meltzer tells us that the December 13th pay-per-view show from Vancouver is being labeled as Rock Bottom. So that should get everyone speculating on Rock taking the title at Survivor Series. 22 members of the Pittsburgh Steelers attended the October 9th WWF show. The Rock and Mark Henry went to the Steelers practice earlier that day, and apparently Mark Henry's cousin played for the Steelers at the time. His name is Kevin Henry. Do you remember a guy named Kevin Henry?
Yeah, I do.
So that is Mark Henry's cousin.
Wow. And then the Steelers are going to show back up in a few years with Big Ben.
Oh, God.
On Raw.
Let's not let's not remember that. The WWF is really pushing to get The Rock as the centerpiece for new mainstream publicity, including trying to get him on episodes of The Net and Silk Stockings on USA. This Rock guy, I don't know, he might make it someday in Hollywood. I don't know.
Well, right around this time, he was in a episode of Star Trek Voyager as well, wasn't he?
And I remember he was in an episode of That 70s Show at one point.
Yeah.
So that hasn't come yet, but I thought this was interesting that Meltzer's pointing out, we want to get this guy on other stuff on TV. This is the start of it.
I don't know. Maybe he was on Voyager first. The only reason I say that is because just remembering when Voyager aired, by 2000, I think was their last season. Mm-hmm. It had to be before 2000, and Voyager aired on the same channel as SmackDown. So maybe 99, I'm guessing maybe next year is when they do, because it was a crossover. Hey, we're promoting wrestling because it's on UPMC, and so is Voyager.
You mean USA? It was on USA, Voyager?
No, SmackDown and Voyager were on UPN.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least near us.
Yeah. I want to say that That 70s show appearance was 98, so it might be later this year. And he was on, and Ken Shamrock was on that with him too. They played wrestlers.
Yes. Yep.
So yeah, that should be coming soon. But yeah, this is the start of them talking about, hey, this guy like should be doing other stuff outside of wrestling. So that was cool to see that little note there from Dave Meltzer. Dave Meltzer, last piece of news here. He's saying that Chyna will be undergoing plastic surgery to change her face, her jaw in particular, as they want to give her a more feminine look. So
That's
Chyna is slowly dipping in. She already had the boobs done and started wearing some makeup and styling her hair differently. But yeah, now she's really going to go. Yeah, she's really going to go after it here.
Soon she'll be going after, I don't know, what was she? Flavor Flav? Is that who she was with?
Sexual Chocolate first. She's got to get Mark Henry first. And that is it, folks. We are done with this one. If you like what we are doing, please visit us on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook by typing in Wrasslin Raw. You can also reach out to us directly at wraslinraw@gmail.com. That's WRASSLINRAW@gmail.com. Be sure to leave us a 5-star review on your podcast platform and tell everyone you know to tune in to the most violating Raw review podcast on the airwaves. Next week, we are going to be reviewing Judgment Day in Your House, 1998. They're still using that In Your House tag. And that will have matches featuring Al Snow and DOA.
Oh.
So for Ryan and Jason, I am Joe, and this has been Wrasslin Raw.